Whether we know it or not, we all have a worldview. But throughout history, human beings have created only a handful of such worldviews. The trouble is that each era mistakenly believes that its incomplete picture of reality is the truth. Our era is no different.
There have been major turning points where the prevailing dominant point of view has undergone dramatic change. We are living in such a time. Edgar, I know that your moon trip was an astounding event. I would like to focus to begin with on what happened to you on that trip that was so startling.
We were rotating every 2 minutes to keep a thermal balance on the spacecraft. It's called the barbecue mode, for example.
So it was like a barbecue
pit,
okay.
Right. But what that caused to happen was that the Earth, the Moon, the Sun, and the 360-degree panorama of the stars and the galaxies and the galactic clusters were there, visible. What happened was I was looking at that and I realized from my science training that I was thinking about the molecules of my body and the molecules of my spacecraft and my partners were manufactured in some ancient generation of stars.
Oh,
and wow, but wait a minute, that's what I learned in college and doing my doctoral work, but those were my molecules, and suddenly it became not intellectual, but personal.
So it's so interesting that your science led you to the moon, and your science led you to a subjective experience that the ancients would describe maybe more in a mystical tradition.
Yes, so I started digging into the mystical literature, not the religious literature, the mystical literature, pre-religious literature. And that's where I found it. And I eventually began to realize that every culture among their ancient people, the Aboriginal people of whatever, were reporting these similar types of connectedness with the mystics of all traditions forever have been saying we're all interconnected in some mysterious way. It occurred to me, even on the flight coming home, that humans forever have asked the questions, who are we? How did we get here? What's this all about? What's our relationship? That now that we were a spacefaring civilization, having been off our planet for the first time, that maybe we needed to re-ask that question in terms of more modern knowledge and launch a new investigation, more detailed, into how do you solve this problem of consciousness using the tools of science, but approaching the concepts of mysticism.
A couple of years ago, something happened in astrophysics that was so big it made the front page of the New York Times, it made the evening news, and it had to do with something you guys are calling the accelerating universe.
Oh, yes.
So what is that, and why was it so important that it made the headlines?
It was importantly unexpected. What we've come to understand is that the universe was created in an inflationary event, and since that time it's been on coast, but the discovery that was so unexpected was that it seems to have entered a new inflation phase. And that was not only unexpected, but it seems so contrary to our entire physical theory.
When this happens, does it really throw astrophysicists such as yourself off base because everything has changed?
Oh, quite so. It's all we have to talk about, really.
Okay. I wonder if you could explain to me exactly what non-locality is.
We, of course, know that light cannot propagate in the universe faster than the speed of light. And yet there's some indications now that quantum effects occur simultaneously in ways that can't be explained by limited velocity like the speed of light. And so people talk about the quantum effects or quantum holograms, that is, quantum information, being present in the universe and changing simultaneously, not limited by the speed of light. In the new model, information does not actually penetrate into the black hole itself. It actually stays within our universe for all time. When it goes into this special space, it redshifts to a factor of about 1 billion higher frequency, but stays there and never really leaves our space-time. That means that it's in principle recoverable if you can have non-locality the way Edgar Mitchell described.
It is precisely the way quantum mechanics was initially formulated that knowing was what seemed to bring reality at that level into existence.
I've heard the term quantum hologram, and I've read it, and I'm not sure if it's physical, like an atom, or if you might define exactly what a quantum
Thank
hologram.
you. That's an important question, Trish. The quantum hologram was a discovery that if you study the emission, the quantum photon emissions from any matter, it is carrying the information about the events in the life history of that piece of matter, whether that's this table, this book, you, me, or the trees here, or whatever. This is a wow discovery. We've heard the mystical tradition, for example, of the Akashic record. Well, this seems to be the mechanism that allows the Akashic record to take place. In other words, it is nature's memory system. And I've written a paper called The Quantum Hologram, Nature's Mind, to suggest this ubiquitous
that's fascinating.
application.
And the Akashic, just to make sure we're clear here, the Akashic record holds all information that has ever been?
That presumably is the way the ancient mystics defined it, and that is precisely what the quantum hologram suggests it's all about. It's a mechanism to carry the history of everything.
Of everything. Okay,
but it goes further. It goes much further than that. It turns out that it causes us to alter our notion of how perception takes place at all.
Oh, really? Within ourselves?
Yeah.
Okay.
We call our intuition the sixth sense.
Right.
Should be called the first sense, because it's rooted in quantum phenomenon that came along well before there was any life on this planet, or this planet really even organized itself well. So we are looking here at one of the most fundamental perceptual mechanisms in nature.
Is it something like the galaxies are analogous to neurons in the brain, and somehow they're connected, and that information is shared, and that the whole cosmos is the mind?
Well, I like that. Now, I can't say that that's proved, but I can see it as a possibility. And those people who like to think that there is some higher intelligence guiding the universe, then you could imagine that source operates through these black holes at the point of these event horizons. Where the magnetic field is transferred from inside to outside, there has to be a great deal of this quantum electrodynamic chaos. And so that sets important limits on how much information we can ever know about processes occurring inside that black hole.
Like chaos theory, where it's chaotic, but there's really a larger order.
What we can address at this point in time, because of the quantum hologram and the way nature interacts with itself through the quantum hologram, can come to a conclusion that we live in a universe that is intelligent, self-organizing, creating, learning, trial and error, participatory, interactive, non-locally interconnected evolutionary system.
Wow.
Boy, Edgar, that is so far from the Newtonian Cartesian
It's
universe.
very far from the Newtonian Cartesian ideas.